At the end of this video, you should be able to summarize the 3 stages by which the moon formed. The formation of the moon. Rocks taken from the moon by Apollo astronauts provide evidence to help astronomers understand the moon's history. Most scientists generally agree that the moon formed in 3 stages. The giant impact hypothesis. Most scientists think that the moon's development began when a large object collided with Earth more than 4 billion years ago. This giant impact hypothesis states that a Mars-sized body struck Earth early in the history of the solar system. Before the impact, Earth was molten or heated to an almost liquid state. The collision ejected chunks of Earth's mantle into orbit around Earth. The debris eventually clumped together to form the moon, as is shown here. Most of the ejected materials came from Earth's silica-rich mantle rather than the Earth's dense metallic core. This hypothesis explains why moon rocks share many of the chemical characteristics of Earth's mantle. As the material clumped together, it continued to revolve around Earth because of Earth's gravitational pull. Differentiation of the lunar interior. Early in its history, the lunar surface was covered by an ocean of molten rock. Over time, the densest materials moved toward the center of the moon and formed a small core. The least dense material formed the outer crust. The other materials settled between the core and the outer layer to form the moon's mantle. Meteorite bombardment. The outer surface of the moon eventually cooled to form a thick, solid crust over the molten interior. At the same time, debris left over from the formation of the solar system struck the solid surface and produced craters and regolith. About 3 billion years ago, the number of small objects in the solar system decreased. Less material struck the lunar surface, and few newer craters were formed. Craters that have rays formed during the most recent meteor impacts. During this stage of lunar development, virtually all geologic activity stopped. Because the moon cooled more than 3 billion years ago, it looks today almost exactly as it did 3 billion years ago. Therefore, the moon is a valuable source of information about the conditions that existed in the solar system long ago. Lava flows on the moon. After impacts on the moon's surface formed deep basins, lava flowed out of cracks or fissures in the lunar crust. This lava flooded the crater basins to form maria. The presence of maria suggests that fissure eruptions once characterized the moon, even though there is no evidence that large active volcanoes have ever been present on the moon. Because the moon's crust is thinner on the near side than on the far side, much more lava flowed onto the surface on the near side than onto the surface of the far side of the moon. The near side of the moon has several smooth maria, but the far side has few maria and many more craters, as is shown on the screen here. Scientists do not yet know how magma formed in the lunar interior or how the magma reached the surface. There is no evidence of plate tectonics or convection currents in the moon's mantle, so the magma must have formed in some other way. A large amount of energy would have been needed to produce the magma in the upper layers of the moon. Some scientists think this energy may have come from a long period of intense meteorite bombardment. Other scientists think that radioactive decay of materials may have also heated the moon's interior enough to cause magma to form. Scientists agree that the lava flows ended about 3.1 billion years ago when the interior cooled completely.
About 4.6 billion years ago, when the Earth was beginning to cool and form layers, a large body about the size of Mars is thought to have collided with the Earth. This collision was so violent, it blasted part of the Earth's mantle into space. Within a few hours, material from the Earth's mantle and from the object that struck Earth began orbiting the planet. Soon afterwards, Clumps of material orbiting Earth began joining together to eventually form one large mass we now call the Moon. As the Moon cooled, additional impacts and lava flow helped create the surface of the Moon we see today.
At this point, you should be able to summarize the three stages by which the Moon formed.